We are going to set up a field today. We here at Campbell Softball take great pride in our fields, so we want to make sure they look great for all the games. So to do that, we first need to show you where the equipment is. So follow me. We're going to go look at our fantastic equipment shed. Inside this shed, you will find all the necessary equipment to set up and tear down a field. You'll find base diggers that aren't actually here. You'll find the bases that go right there. You'll find the batter box templates that go right here. And you'll find the brooms and rakes and accoutrement that make a field set up great. In addition, we have two separate chalkers. We like the real stuff, and we use them for different things. So we get the four-wheeled one and the two-wheeled one, and I'll show you when we use which. The last piece of equipment that we should probably talk about are our circle makers that we can properly size our pitching circles. We need a few things to set up a field. We need to have the batting box template. We need to have a base digger. We need to have the bases. There's actually 3 bases here. We left them like this because this is how they come off the shelf, but there's actually 3 bases here. We need to have 2 different size pitcher rings, and we'll figure out which one when we set this up. We need to have 2 different chalkers. This one's great for making straight lines. That one's great for making circles. They both do their jobs well, but they are not interchangeable. We need to have a line so we can draw straight lines, because a field with wiggly lines looks terrible. But we need to have a tape measure. I've set up these fields probably 100 times now. I still measure it every time because you can eyeball it wrong. A couple of feet are really easy to get wrong. When the girls are up there and the mound has to change, it's distracting. So let's make sure we always get it right. And I want to show you a bag of dolomite looks like. This is what it looks like, also known as chalk. It will get all over you, but we have plenty of it. Let's make sure we never fill it up. We need to use it to put it into our machines. The different machines require different amounts. We rarely want to go above the line that says do not fill above the line, which is, I don't know, about 1/3 of this one and about 1/2 of the other one. So let's go look at the other one. This is an appropriate amount of chalk. You don't want to have too much more than this. If you have too much more than this, it doesn't come out smoothly. If you don't have enough, you'll have to stop and go get more. So this will do the whole field and a little bit more. Make sure you fill it up before you get too far from the shed, otherwise you have to haul everything out and put it back. So that is the general equipment that we need in order to set up this field properly. We set up first base first. We'll start first. So when you get here, you'll notice we have the base here, and we have these 2 plugs. They go in the holes. We have to pull those out. And when we pull them out, you'll notice it's all filled up with rocks. Well, that's not unusual, and that's why we have a base digger. So all we do is reach in there and try to clean out a little hole. And it's 1 inch by 1 inch, so it's not a huge hole, which is also the same width as this thing. And try to get a little bit more dug out. This field is pretty high, so we're not gonna have to go very deep. I mean, sometimes this field is not so high, and so you have to go pretty deep to make these work. So we kind of go in like this, go a little bit further. You only need a couple of inches to make it work, and that'll do you. Bob's your uncle. All right, so once you have the holes dug out, we can take the first base. Some of you may be familiar with baseball, where they have 1 first base, but here in softball we have 2. This is for running through, and this is the part the play actually happens on. So when we set up the base, we set up so the orange is out of foul territory. That allows a runner to run through the base and not run into the first base person. So now that's all there is to putting in first base. We take these things and we very gently chuck them to the side over there. Always put them in the same spot, and we'll always know where they are. All right. We are at second base here. When we get here, you're going to take a look at it. These are called safety bases. And when we get in here, we see there's a plug. And a lot of times people will take out the plug and toss it to the side, dig out the hole. This one's a little wet. Which is good. You're not supposed to do all that. But once you're done digging it out, you can put the plug back in and put the base over the plug. This is the recommended way of doing it, but it's not always feasible. These things have gotten a little out of square in the 15 years or so we've been putting them in here. We all have other things we have to do with our lives, so trying to get the safety plug in there with the base is maybe not the thing that we'll get to. But we're gonna give it an attempt. So we take the safety plug. We've got this pretty well cleaned out. Even give it another little scrub here. And maybe one more, and because we're playing in dirt, we gotta actually get our hands in there. All right, safety plug back in. And if you see there's a 1-inch boundary all the way around, that actually matches the size. So we should be able to stick it on just like that. There you go. That's how you put a soft touch safety base in. From there, let's just make sure we don't leave a pile here. All right, so this is third base in Shannon Field. Occasionally we lose this base. It is a little bit harder to dig out. So I'm gonna show you what happens when we don't put a safety stop in there, and we're all gonna be okay. So if you come here and you dig it out and you do the same basic maintenance, you know, you wanna do a good job. I want you to do a good job. Everybody wants to do a good job. But sometimes, you know, the game's gotta go on. You can't get it in there with the plug. It's just not working for you. We just take the place, put it there, and we're good to go. And that's it. That's how we do third base. So this is the template we use for chalking the batter box at home plate. It's pretty simple to use. So what we do is we align it to the home plate. So the top here matches the top there. Try to make it kind of as square as we can. Then we have the fun bits that we walk on it. Now, don't hurt yourself. You can trace it also. I like the walk on it method. It seems to work mostly. And we're just trying to get a template here. You don't want to actually chalk over this thing. It just makes a mess when you pick it up. I've done it a few times when I was learning how to do this, and you end up with just chalk everywhere. So first we make we get the outline. We take a gander at that, and we put it aside. You're like, wait, what? Yeah, we're not done yet. So if you remember, there's a line that goes all the way through first base. So we use the straight lines to that. We want to make sure we have nice straight lines. And to do that, we use this straight line. If you come here close, you'll see there's a little eye hole. In that eye hole, we put our carabiner, and the carabiner goes in there like that. And then it's just a matter of letting out the line. Of course, this is stuck. There we go. All right, a little real life demo stuff going on. So we just let out the line. We don't really care if there's chalk on this thing. We just care about a nice straight line. I try not to have it drag around on the ground because I don't want to have extraneous lines when I set this up. So I hold it up and try to keep it from rolling around. And you're going to see what we do. We run it straight through the crack here at first base. And then we go a little bit further. I like to go out until at least the greens and a little bit more. We don't go all the way across, but we want to give the umpire a good idea of where the lines are. And you'll know, we're going to talk about it again, but when we chalk this line, this is foul territory, this is fair territory. So when we ideally make this line, the chalk will line up, it's about 2 inches wide, so that this edge will be this edge, the white stuff will be on this side. So it's easy to figure out which way is home territory. That's the prep work we need to do in order to make a nice straight line from the batter's box all the way through first base. I'm gonna go get the chalker and we're gonna chalk this out. All right, so this is the chalker we use for the batter box and the straight lines. Just so you know how it works. This thing is kind of loose, it jiggles. When it goes down here, it's open. When it's up here, it's closed. In theory, chalk only comes out when the wheels are moving, but we know better than that. So we're gonna raise it up, and if I want to show you some things here. If you can come by and show you how this thing all works together. This stripe on top aligns with the hole down here, so we can see where exactly the chalk is coming from as we chalk the field. If we don't know that, it can get hard to kind of guess where it is. So you can actually line up this line with the chalk that's coming out and with the line that we've laid down here, so we can get a nice straight line all the way down through first base. But before we get to first base, I like to lay down the chalk for the batter's box. So we're going to do that, and in one smooth motion, we're going to chalk all the way down the first base line. So, got to get it into position. This thing does not like it, which is great for straight lines. But you have to keep that in mind, that you need to bring it up on its rear wheels so that when you try to turn it, it turns nicely. For the batter's box, I like to just center the line between the template and the line here. We'll do something different with the line to first, but for here, we're gonna do this right down the center. So we turn it on by opening the little thing, and then we just give it a push. And as we go down here, you can see we got about a 3-inch line that comes out, beautiful. We turn it off, do a wheelie, and we go back and do it the other way. That's right, do a wheelie. Turn it back on, and right, straight down this guy again. There we go. You can see when you get there, turn it off, and cross the box. We're going to cross it this way, we're going to cross it that way, and then we'll do the line to first. Cross it here, nice and square. Turn it off, wheelie, flip it around, line it up. Turn it on, and Bob's your uncle. We just chalked our first batter's box. Now, we're going to chalk the line through first base. Wanted to remind you, again, that this line is about 3 inches wide. It needs to line up so that the right edge of the line is on the right edge of the string. We want to do that so that foul territory is correct, because that orange side of the base over there is all foul territory. Remember, a ball bounces on the line. How I always remember is a ball that bounces on the line is a fair ball. So you want to make sure that the string is the edge of foul territory. So again, we turn it on, we line it up, this time off center, so that the gauge here is just over the line, and we start giving it a push. I'd say we go maybe 1-2 miles an hour. We're not flying here. I want a nice thick line. This one gets abused. This is the most abused line that you're going to have on this field, because every person who tries to get to first is going to run down this line. So we want to make sure it's nice and thick and we're not going too fast. The faster we go, the thinner the line output will be. So we're going to come here, and you can do this a lot of different ways. I like to do it this way. That is, just go over the place. That's right, it's chalk. It just rubs off. You go over the base, you can keep on going until back up there. You get to the grass, and a little bit more, and then we're good. Is it a perfectly straight line? No. Is it a mostly straight line? It is. We can live with it. We will basically replicate the same thing with the line to third base. In the meantime, we should probably set up a runner's lane and a coach's box. So,
ready, go.
Setting the field is really a two-person job, but we can do it with one person. And here's some trick I learned to make nice fields just by myself. So when we look at the string here, you're like, well, how are we going to get that up and not mess up that line and that box that we just put down? So the trick is, we're going to walk down to this eye hole. We're going to take it out of the eye hole. We're going to attach it to that eye hole that's over here. That's also hard to find, but we'll find it, I'm sure. And then we're going to lift it up nicely so it doesn't mess up our freshly set up boxes. So as you see, I'm trying to get it out of the batter's box. I'm going to get it over here. We'll look for the eye hole. I usually have to eyeball it here. All right, so we found the eye hole. It's right here. It's poorly marked and wonderfully labeled. So we, once again, put our carabiner in there, and we walk back to our string. And what we're going to try to do is get this string run down through third base without making a big mess. That's going to be a tall order, but I think we can do it. So if you got two people, this part becomes a lot easier. Doing it by yourself, sometimes the best you can do is all we can ask, right? So I'm going to get this line a little bit taut and lift it up so it doesn't drag across the white line we just put down. And we're going to keep it a little bit tight and keep going and keep going and keep going. We're going to go all the way to third base here, keeping it a little bit tight, and that way we won't be messing up that line we just put down. All right, we are here nicely at third base. That's right, third base it is. We drop the line, and like we did at first, we go backwards a little bit more. Now, don't trip on it, I almost did, but you won't be trying to look at a camera, hopefully, while you're doing this. So, anyway, we go off to the grass, a couple feet, put it down, and you got a pretty straight line. Now what we have to do, put the chalk down. We'll run over the base, just like we did at first, and you'll almost be there. Let's get the batter's box finished up here while we're at it. All right, we got the batter's box template. There's no left and right, it's the same thing. We just use it the other direction. So you can flip it over and line it up. We try to make sure we don't put too many extra lines on there. But once again, it's just line it up at the top of the plate to the top of this box here. If it's nice and straight, we give it a good step. Walk all the way around it. Try to get all the corners easily seen. And maybe a little easier for me with a little extra girth, weight. Helps make the line. Found some reason for it. All right, here we go. As we see, we got a little outline we can work with. We'll put it off to the side and get the chalk. And we'll chalk it all the way down. We'll do the box first, just like we did on the first base line, and then we'll do the line down third base. We use the four-wheeler again, because it does the straight line. And you pretty much always want to, when you push it around, have it do a wheelie. It leaks, and it leaks real bad when you don't give it a wheelie. So we're going to put it down, we're going to open it up. Remember, this is the open position. Weirdly, perpendicular is open anyways. But we're going to try to center this line over that line. So we go down this way. We get to the intersection, close it off, turn it around, put it up, down the line, turn it off, close it up, down here, and one more, finish up the box. Try not to draw over your lines. And line it up, down. That's scary sounding. And there we go. Cool thing you can do, if you notice that this doesn't look quite right, you have a magic eraser called the shoe, and we just tidy it up like that. No one will ever know. This corner we'll fix when we go down the third base line. Once again, I want to remind people, the line is fair. So we want to make sure that all of the powder is on the fair side of the line. We're going to go all the way through third base and then some, and we're going to try to make sure that all the powder is in the fair territory. Because the line is fair in softball. All right, turn it on. We're going to head down this line and give it, some time. You don't want to rush this. So the slower you go, the more powder you get down, the nicer that line looks. The thicker it is, the more forgiving a line it is. When you have a really narrow line, this one's pretty narrow right now. When you have a really narrow line, it really looks wiggly when you run it. So we're gonna take it nice and slow. Now also, if you get a little off, don't worry about it. This is all temporary, but it'll all go away by the next game. Go up and over the base, and we'll pick up the line on the other side. We are here to have fun, people. You do this enough times, you're like, this will be your favorite part. You're like, I get to line the field today. You think about what is the most efficient way I could possibly line this field. And you'll draw pictures of it. And maybe you'll make a video. Anyway, here we go. That was third base line. Pretty good, like it. Not the straightest thing in the world, but the ground's not straight, the wheels aren't straight, the line's not straight, so we're not going to worry about the little wiggles in it. All right, now that we got this line done, we're going to pull it off. We're going to reel it up. And we reel it up by turning this little knob here and walking it in. So in softball, every game is played on the same side field. However, the pitcher's mound changes depending on age group. On our fields, we have a permanent 14U and older. Basically, after 14 and older, they all play on that distance. But we have a 10U, a 12U, and an 8U distance that we support. So right now, the field is set up for a 12U team. If you look, it's roughly 2 feet from the 14U permanent plate and the 12U movable plate. You might be wondering, well, where's the 10U plate? Well, some days you're here, it's really easy to find. There's these little nubbins that pop out right about here. Today is not one of those days. I'm kind of searching around looking for them, and I can't actually find them. So we have some options. And the option I like is actually remember how far it is for 10U from home plate. And the answer is 35 feet. We got a tape measure a little earlier, and I'll show you how we do this. By yourself, this is a real problem. So with a little creativity, you can find something like a striping machine to attach the end of your line to, and then you measure out 35 feet. So this tape measure is plenty long for this. We're going to look at it. It's 100 feet long, so we're not going to need all of it. We're going to do 35 feet. We're going to pull it. Looking at it, this is 26 feet. We're going to keep going. It's going to be somewhere around here. And here it is, 35 feet from the front of the home plate to where the 10U bump should be. So now that we're here, I'm going to get a handy dandy device called a shovel, and I'm going to give it a little poke. Should be able to find it pretty easy right here. And there it is. So that's one. The other one should be about a foot away, and there's the other one. You can see where those are. And now we're down here. We're going to use our special base digger to get the caps out. Now, when we break down a field, we need to put these caps back in. Always put the caps back in. Not having these caps here makes this a lot harder. As it is, you can look, nice clean hole. I barely got to dig that at all. And when we tip this one, you'll see something similar. If the caps aren't in there, well, good luck, because finding that hole, now this 2-minute job has become a 30-minute job, and you don't feel real smart when you're trying to find a hole. And as you can see, we're right here at 35 feet where the front of the base would be. So this field is right here, it's pretty accurate. So when we put the plate in, it'll go like that. These rubber stops are super important, so we take our loving care and toss them all the way over there so that we won't ever lose them. We always put them in the same place, we'll always know where they are. All right, now comes the hard part. I don't like there being a hard part. Sometimes there's hard parts. You got to get that base to there, and I just tossed the plugs. So I got to go pick up those plugs because I don't know what I was thinking. And we're going to put them back in. So there's a bunch of ways to do this. I like to use a shovel. Some people like to use the hand tools. Some people use a pickaxe. I like the flat-headed shovel because it gives a little mechanical advantage. That's what we call it in the engineering field. It's wide enough, you can get underneath, and when you give it a little thing, you can get underneath it, give it a couple of tries, and it comes up. There we go. So we're going to take this, we're going to put it inside. I like to kind of make sure right now that we have a nice little clean spot for it, so that it goes down nice and flat. Right, because usually this is a low spot right there. These are a bit longer than they are at first base, but they work pretty much the same way. So we get there, we put it in, give it a good stomp, And then we push the dirt back up against it, so girls have a nice plate to push off. Now, how much dirt, when you should stop, that'll be a bit of how the pitchers like it. Some pitchers don't even want to know it's there. Some want a nice thick gap. So we get it close and we let them feather it to their heart's desires. We go back and we pick up these plugs that we took off. And I so wisely said, well, if we only put them in the same place, they'll always be where they're supposed to be. But we know now that actually we need to put them back in the holes of the other one. So that's what I'm doing. It's kind of a walk of shame. It's okay. You'll make that mistake too. You'll be like, oh, I've done this 1,000 times. Yeah, maybe. But what'd you do with the plugs? The plugs just go back in. We give them a little feathering job, try to get it with the bump, and run your rake over it. But that's it. That is the important bits. If you get it this far, all else we got to do to make sure nobody complains is get the pitcher circle down. And we'll do that next.
1, go.
So, it's nice to have on duck circles. It's a safety thing. The girls will now know where they can watch the pitcher from. It's all kind of a wishy-washy of where exactly they need to be. On this field, I line them up with this gate, or this post, and the fence here. Some people put them a little bit closer. They feel like they get a better look at the pitcher from closer. Some people put it on the other side of the gate. I do not like that at all because now you're looking at the back of the pitcher. The idea is generally if you're on the on-deck circle is that the batters are learning the timing of the pitcher and they can't do that if they're looking at him from behind. So this is probably a good safety compromise between being close to the batter's box, being close to the pitcher, and being close to the coach. So the coach can give them instructions, can talk to them through the fence if necessary, and if they're too far this way, that can be hard for the coach to do because the coach will usually stand in the gate right there. So there's some leniency, but this is where we like to put it. This one is small. It's only a couple feet. I think it's 2 feet in radius, so 4 feet in diameter. So we're gonna put it down in the circle and just put down. All right, I messed it up a little. It's okay. Well, everybody will survive. This is mostly for ideas, for your ideas so that the batter knows where to stand. So we're gonna put this down, go back to our two-wheeler, open it up, and drag it out. Push it through. And if you're feeling super spry, you might want to make it a softball. And those are totally optional, but there you go. Now you have batter's circle. We'll do the same thing on the other side. It'll be exact same process, same location. Probably won't show you how to do it. So earlier we talked about the pitching circle device that we have, and this is it. If you unwind it, you get an 8-foot long string attached to a piece of plastic. This one says pitch on it. If you look, it says pitch. This is the last thing I do for a couple of reasons. One is that, this part of the field's getting walked over. I want it to be the last thing that people aren't ruining my thing. The other thing is, you usually need a hand for this. I haven't found a good way to do this by myself. So usually game time's coming up pretty soon. It's easy enough to grab a parent and be like, hey, can you hold this for me? And then draw this line for it. So I got a parent over here, Brian. Brian's gonna hold this and he's gonna film simultaneously. We're gonna see what kind of skills he's got in this game. So look, it goes right in the middle of the circle. And then we just walk it around. I like to make sure it's as perpendicular as I can make it. That way we have a pretty even circle. And we're just gonna draw it with a little bit of tension. Keep going, and we're gonna keep going. We're gonna make a whole circle. As a grown-up, this is the few times I actually get to play in the dirt. They don't let me do that most days. And there we go. Got a nice circle outline. I mean, I've done this 1,000 times, but I'm happy with the circle. This is gonna look good. Let's take a look at it. We're widen this back up, and I'm gonna get the two-wheeler out here, and we're gonna show you how to put the finishing touches on a workable field here at Campbell. So this is the last step in making the circle. We use the two-wheeler. The four-wheeler makes this really hard. You will not get a circle. If you use the two-wheeler, you have a shot at it. So we're gonna push it open, pulling it up, it's closed, pushing it down. This thing is open. For the most part, the wheels are turning, stuff's gonna come out, so I tend to carry it over here. And then I give it a push. And nothing's coming out. Oh, there it is. Now it's coming out. Sometimes it takes some encouragement. So I like to follow the pointer on this thing all the way around the circle and just slowly walk it out. So if you can see that line in front of me, you want to follow all the way around the circle, you're going to end up where we started. Just right there. Bammo. Give it a shot, close it, pick it up, and admire your handiwork. Not a bad looking circle. I'm going to flatten that out. Remember, you always have erasers. If it doesn't come out the first time, do it again. It only takes a minute. If you things good enough, you know, they're 12. They'll probably give you a hard time no matter what you do. Or younger, or older, or whatever. So we do our best. We try to make it nice for them. But this is the minimum we need to do to set up a field. We need the batter boxes, we need the lines, and we need the pitcher circle. If we do that, they can play on this. We can do batter's boxes, we can do running lanes, we can do coaching boxes, we can do all sorts of things, but those are kind of optional. And we're trying to make this as easy as we can right now. For tournaments, we'll probably do these things, but for interleague and regular spring games, this is what we need in order to make a field setup right. You can come back and touch up if you want, but the girls will be running on this any minute now. So, like, yeah, don't sweat it too much. So thank you much for coming out here and helping us with our league. This is a task that, you know, some of us grow to really enjoy. We take a lot of pride in. You know, it takes a few tries. The first time, you know, maybe won't be so great. But that's all right. You know, there's a lot of games. You have a lot of opportunities to make it better. This is the video I wish I had. When somebody told me to chalk the lines, I didn't know how to chalk the field. I was like, I don't know how to do that. So I hope that every future parent appreciates that, you know, that they got the 30-minute lesson, 10-minute lesson on how to do this now. And I hope they enjoy watching their girls play out here. I know I do. So thank you for your time. See you on the fields.